Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. Test 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Alright, how's everybody doing? So yesterday we struggled mightily with creating masks for all the little threads on the armor, on the core model. And among the issues we had was when we exported the mask as a BMP and then re-imported it, we couldn't edit it. It occurred to me later that, of course, we could just create a layer over it and edit that layer as if the two were already merged. So that escaped me. Since then, you'll notice I've just got done rebaking everything in time for the stream. I promised I wouldn't subject anybody to that. So, true to my word, I finished that up all off stream, just in the nick of time. And the reason for rebaking the maps was that once again, I didn't have the proper decimation mesh. And in fact, it didn't exist at the time. So previous decimation, I come to a point in the development process towards the end where I have to go digging for files that I want to branch off into the completed version for whatever reason. Typically, I've forgotten something, or I've realized a new process since then, or I've made changes to the design. For whatever reason, I have to go back into the archives, dig through all my ZBrush files, dig through all my Max files, and then iterate that file until what will eventually become the final version. Sometimes I'm branching off more than one file at a time, and I have to export, import stuff to develop them into the final model, and so I get multiple versions of the same file, and I'm trying to merge them all together. So previously I had a decimated model without the leather pads with the Traeger stripes here. I had different implementations of the chainmail armor, which didn't look correct. I didn't have the Salicot top on. And I had merged all the correct versions with a version in which this armor piece wasn't correct. When I applied the surface modifier, typically when you apply the surface modifier, it gives a weaker result than what was previously observed with noise engaged. In this case, it gave a stronger result, and these armor links grew up and over the threading or chain. I hope it reads as chain links, even though it's a thread curve brush. Anyways, and you couldn't see the detailing at the edge here. It was all just kind of a lumpy mess all the way around. It's highly irrelevant, being that it's going to be covered by these shoulder armor plates once I merge all the low poly pieces together. I'm creating this in such a way where if I have an element that repeats, such as this middle shoulder armor plate, it's going to be copied here and here and here. I'm just going to have them share the same UVs. And so I only need to bake out one texture for these UV coordinates. And then later on in a modeling program, I'm just going to copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. And then this will be almost totally obfuscated. But just in case it's not totally obfuscated, I want to go back and get it right. And that took several hours of sorting through the multivaried branches until I found one that I could use. And it entailed splitting out this part again, and the adding. Oh God, that's not the correct. Why is that? That looks like garbage. Well, what does the decimated version look like? Why? Oh. So I'm going to have to render them out again. I can't see what I'm looking at here. And I inspected this thoroughly too to make sure it was correct. And it's still not correct. Where did I go wrong? I'm not going to bake these things out on air again, but I am going to... How many times can I screw something up? Like it's... Let's look at this file here. See, it should be using this torus knot here, right in the middle of the screen. And I don't really want to mess around with trying to place that torus knot on the model. I suppose I could import the low poly too, but I'd rather work from the original file that the low poly was used for retopology. In the meantime, I'm going to start Agent Ransack running, looking for anything named leather. How could I be so dumb? Well, this one comes right after these two Z tools, so that might be where I finally got it right. I'm going to look through these. I'm not seeing it. So, regarding ID maps, so this is something that was alluded to yesterday by Light Life. He suggested that that was a way to create masks, or essentially a color ID map, which you could then utilize for the purposes of creating masks. I briefly looked at some videos, and they just couldn't keep my attention. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hire somebody off of Fiverr to accompany me during a stream and just walk me through the process. I think that's the way to go in order to generate engaging content. You don't want to hear me drone on with my monotone, non-ASMR voice. So I'll get somebody on here, pay them for their services, have them walk me through the process, and generate decent content. At the same time, again, always be looking to kill two birds with one stone. Just a few more days until the PC upgrade. Twice the memory, going from 32 gigabytes to 64. Incidentally, I don't know if I'm going to play any games tonight. I haven't had a chance to check out the 3DS XL and how well it outputs 3D red-blue glasses type content. And there's no chance of Call of Duty Black Ops because every time I start it up, it crashes down. All my drivers are updated. I have a powerful mainstream video card. So let's look at these bracelets. Let's see if these are the correct ones. These are the wrong ones. So, I don't think there's a Tiger Samurai finalizing file beyond that one. This may be the Tiger Core finalizing 6. It branches off from 4, but maybe 5A has the proper bracelets. We're going to take a look. This is such a complicated mesh, and there's so many millions of polygons. You're looking at the most tedious aspect of the process. But it must be done. And while I intend to learn how to create ID maps and use them to facilitate masking at a later date, today I'm going to continue masking things by hand. In case my plans fall through. I already have a backup plan I'm implementing. You'll notice that the threads on the armor pop a little bit because I added an additional fill layer in order to kind of modify the roughness channel. These are correct. So if I try to split the mesh, it's not going to, because it's many thousands of pieces, if not millions. So what I'm going to do is split out everything but the bracelets. And then split the parts. And I'm just going to slowly delete everything that does not belong. Huh. I lost some of the strings. I'm going to have to go back. Feel like we might have deleted one of the wrong ones. Well, here we just need the knots, right? All right. So let's go back. Although this is not necessarily in the same place as this. So let's see. Well, we can take the knots from this one. So let's do that. All we need are the knots. So we duplicate this. Oh, we duplicated it. What happened? What is wrong with my brain? There we go. Someone was just not visible. And we can merge all these down. Now, normally I would not be happy with how ragged these edges look, but being that it's leather, it fits it pretty. It's fitting. Can't tell where to say this as a tool. I'm going to call it leather bracelet good. I'm not going to assume that it's final, just because I might want to upgrade some of those edges. All right. Now we have to take this into you know what? I think I have two different Tiger Samurai core finalizing 3s. I should have saved it right to the proper folder rather than desktop to make sure that the bad one got overwritten. It's hard to keep all these things straight in your head. Oh god, so this is all already collapsed, so I gotta go back further. I don't think there's a good way to separate the VAD bracelets from the rest of the mesh. I always say I'm not going to subject you to the boring stuff, but every time I open up an application, I find out that something's screwed up. And the only way to rectify it is typically a slog. An awful, horrible, but necessary slog. I ordered a bunch of gum to try to help me beat my food cravings. I can hear my stomach now. So this has the bad bicep armor. This has the bad thigh guard, the bad wrist, core decimation finalizing. This is what, 1. 1's no good. 2, I think, is pretty good. It's Tiger Samurai core finalizing. It basically branches from Tiger Samurai core finalizing file 6, which was branched off from 4. Let me just show you the crazy naming convention here. So, Tiger Samurai core decimation 2 doesn't come from Tiger Samurai core decimation 1A. It comes from a different branch of files called Tiger Samurai core finalizing. So this is all pre-decimated stuff. Core finalizing 6, which branched off from Tiger Samurai core finalizing 4. So that's what my arcane naming convention signifies there. So this is, it's probably going to be nothing's going to be decimated. So we're going to have to decimate everything here live on air. Because as much as I want to demonstrate the fun stuff, i.e. masking threads off individually, we have to do this in order to progress. Every time I break open another diet soda, diet gum, or any sort of food, I think of the Simpsons movie where Marge catches Bart drinking whiskey, and he's like, "I'm troubled." All right, where are we at? So thankfully everything, I remembered to save a file that's pre-merged. And yeah, here's where I got in what? No, okay, that's the bad bracelet. Load tool. Leather bracelet good. I'm not saying leather bracelet good. Let's get rid of this nonsense. Okay, so that's what was screwing me up. It still has the leather bracelets, no knots. Subtool name. So this one has knots, this one does not. Why? No, they do. Did I just go blind there for a moment? Have these been decimated already? Looks like they have been. Which is unfortunate because they don't look that great. We gotta... do I want to go back and find a better version of this? $41,000 points is as good as decimated in my book. What? So all the dings and imperfection will just pawn off on story narrative. Now 940,000 is a little high for something like this. Let's see if it decimates things judiciously. Yeah, it's looking pretty rugged. What say we try a smooth process on this? Get rid of some of those jagged edges, or will it have no effect? Let's say we try to smooth it before we decimate it. It has no discernible effect. One more time. Yeah, it doesn't really, and that's right out. What about polish by features? Sometimes that gets good. I'd rather have it look a little bit sharper and jagged. So, let's frame. Oh, thanks. And this is indeed the goodest version of the leather bracelet. Why does it seem like it's masked? Because we're not selected on it. All right. We should save this, denoting that it is yet another branch. I know that the latest Tiger Samurai Core Decimation file is 3. So I'm going to name this 4 and denote that it was originally, it's branching off from Tiger Samurai Core Decimation 2, which is in turn Tiger Samurai Core Finalizing 6, which in turn branches from 4. So, believe it or not, this type of insane nesting of file names actually does help me find what I'm looking for that much quicker. Once this is saved, which is itself a tedious process, tedious and boring, then we'll get to the process of decimating everything. I gotta save. Almost out of soda. I need another one. I'm troubled. Alright, so basically what I'm going to do is most things don't need to be over 1 million polygons or triangles, however ZBrush measures them. So anytime I come across a subject that is that many triangles, I am going to decimate it. Then I'm going to combine everything and decimate that. Okay, I remember that this one was way heavy. So the plan for today is to rectify the bracelet mistake. We've had about 6 or 7 mistakes over the last few streams. And then we're going to mask by hand some of the armor threads until I find a better way to do that. And hopefully I'll be able to hire somebody on who can walk us through the process, thus creating banter and content. Decimate current. That one's kind of borderline there, right? 1.7 million is not crazy for the amount of real estate and detail that takes up and has, respectively. Huh. I think I obviously, because I remember they were 12 million active points combined. So yeah, maybe it's counting vertices? Yeah, okay, so I actually decimated most of this stuff. Yep, I remember that being 14 million. I missed that. After seeing this in Substance Painter, I've been so inspired by the finished or finishing product that I've been having very positive dreams where, like, I win race car races. It was very much looking like F-Zero race cars in track, and I won by boxing out the second place character. And I was winning high school basketball competitions, dunking on people. I'm a driver, I'm a winner. Things are going to change, I can feel it. Points in the chat if you know what that song is from, what that lyric is from, what song that lyric is from. I can talk. Who says I can't talk? While this is going on, I'm going to check some other websites. Bear with me. Come on. What the hell is going on? Nothing's working right. I use a program called Display Fusion, and I don't know if it's responsible for this current living nightmare. So I'm trying to open Task Manager so I can close out yet another malfunctioning program. What the hell? Oh God, why is everything so awful? It's not letting me resize the window. Resize. Maximize, minimize, and now let's try to resize. And it will not resize. Back to Task Manager. Oh, and I can decimate current finally. Bear with me for a second. This is auto-saving again? We can decimate this a little further. Ugh. What are we looking for here? We're going to zoom in here and see if there's any noticeable difference. really zoom in. Yeah. Typically, I don't see any difference going from like 2 million to 500,000, but there's enough there. And it makes me wonder if 1 million is too few for the chest armor, torso armor. Although there's so many flat plates here that need next to no geometry, all the threads are getting the extra geometry, which is ideal. So I think 1 million is perhaps sufficient for that, especially since all this other stuff is separate from it. All right, moving right along. That doesn't need decimation, that doesn't need decimation, that doesn't need decimation. That probably needs more polygons, if anything. But I think this is probably the same numbers we were using previously to render our normal maps, and it looked pretty good. Alright, so all that's left to do is merge all this down, and it's going to be under 19 million, or it's going to be under 20 million rather. We'll probably have to run one more decimation master for all the items. Let's save this though. Why not use merge visible? Because it doesn't work. Starting to chug. Only 2 more days. The waiting is the hardest part. I remember the day that Tom Petty died. My friend asked me if I had heard. I said yes. And then I was like, no, wait, ask me again. He said, did you hear that Tom Petty died? I said, yep, it's a real heartbreaker. It's a real heartbreaker. Can you just project a low poly UV map onto the high poly? I think I'll run a couple of experiments tomorrow. See about separating out those threads. I'm completely off camera now. I have to sit in weird positions. I gotta have my legs elevated at all times because that's the only thing that promotes healing. Processing, we are almost at 2%. 2%, yay! Last stream I was talking about these BitPhoenix Prodigy cases that I made and how when I replace everything with the Leon Lee PC60s, I'm going to create Raspberry Pi cases modeled after them. Excuse me. And so I'm in another window here looking at Shapeways information about aluminum. It's hard to get a quote from Shapeways, it looks like, without uploading a model, which makes sense, but I don't know, could maybe tell you the price per millimeter, square millimeter. Hey, all right. Decimate current. What? But I just pre-processed. I know if I go to the tape, it will show that ZBrush is a liar, but whatever, let's pre-process current again. Now what? What's going on? I got a crash error message on the separate screen there, but nothing's crashed yet, so I guess I'll just continue. In the meantime, let's look at what I've accomplished in Substance Painter. So yeah, I created materials for the bracelet. I also added a second layer, and I gotta go back and make everything an instance so I can change everything at the same time. Explicitly for changing the roughness map and altering the color. Now I could have done that in the fill layer previously, but I don't really know how 50% grayscale interacts with this fill layer, like what the new values would be if the layers were merged. So I'm just going to keep them I'm going to edit both layers independently because you can't merge them, and I don't know what the results of merging would be. But yeah, I don't like the fact that they're very shiny, but it's the only way to get that the indentations to read at all. Because if we go into Quarry here, we go into layers. I'll show you what the alternative is. Yes, they're shiny, and that looks a little weird, but Samurai did use a lot of materials like satin, cloth. Is that a cloth actually? And silk and stuff. So let's look at the fill layers here. Where's everybody? Why aren't these pictures showing up? This is a Substance Painter. This is not good if I cannot see what the base colors are here. Why are you not showing me the base colors? F5. Refresh. And another thing, why isn't my ambient occlusion layer accessible here? I've seen people in tutorials be able to access their ambient occlusion in this dropdown, yet mine remains elusive. Why? Alright, so it looks like I don't have... Is it going to update? What's going on? Why is nothing responding here? Okay. So that disappears. Is this a result of re-rendering all the normal maps and stuff? I bet it is. I bet it won't even let you update your normal maps and stuff without breaking stuff. These are missing. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, because I still have the issue of some of these sub-objects sharing. You can see the neck rope there disappears, as well as main belt under. So I got to rename those stuff anyway, those things anyways. And basically all I've done so far is slap on some smart materials and create some masks. So now that I know I can export the masks, why can't I talk? Why does nothing work? Now that I know that I can export the masks, import them, and then just create another mask on top of that, and that they will behave as if they are merged in that instance, I will do that on a whole new project where everything is rendered correctly and everything has been named correctly and all of the materials have been applied correctly and everything is correct and I can speak without issue, and we will have a good stream. I promise you. This is insane. Look how good that rope looks, though, really. I mean, look how good everything looks. I'm so happy with the results here. You gotta understand, I was never good at texturing back in the day. I actually modeled cel-shaded characters in such a way that the model was broken up so that I could just slap on a material and not have to texture. That's how bad my texturing abilities were. But now, Substance Painter to the rescue. Even somebody with like no texturing skill can have good looking models. Ignore the hands. I'm going to find a way to... First of all, the normal maps are kind of screwy. But ignore the hands because I'm going to... I have polypaint data in which the maps look fantastic. So I'm going to find a way to extract those and lay them on top of the UVs once I render everything out. So the hand texture is just a placeholder. Back to ZBrush. How are we doing? Did we pre-process? And we're reading the mesh file. Okay, so I'm going to take that error message seriously. Wow, ZBrush. Oh, there it is. And we're going to end task. And we're going to restart ZBrush. But in the meantime, let's look at how awesome our Tiger Samurai looks. The most recent ZBrush session was abnormally terminated. That should be like their splash page, not the not this ZBrush homepage, not this thing. ZBrush homepage, ZBrush live. It should just be that error message just pops up at all times anytime you start it up. The previous session terminated abnormally. as per usual. Now, will this file open at all? That's the question. And Task Manager up here on the third monitor, it says it's not hopeful. It says ZBrush is not responding. Oh, it's here. And so this is pre-merging. And how far did we get with decimation before we saved this? Alright, so it looks like we decimated everything. We just need to merge everything down and decimate it one last time. Merge down, merge down, merge down. What happened? Why can I no longer merge down? Merge down, merge down, merge down, merge down, merge down. In the other window, I'm looking for silver PLA. Oops, I hit merge visible. What's going to happen? Nothing, I guess. All right, and while this runs, I am going to take a quick break. Be back in a minute. All right, and we're back, and not much has happened other than everything crashed while I was away, except for ZBrush, which is ironic in some way, although it is not listed in my running apps on Task Manager, and that is not a good sign. But it does seem to be successfully creating the pre-process of the Decimate. Let's see if Decimate current works. It seems to be. Why did we have left monitor up? I wonder if I displayed anything incriminating. Another diet soda? What's wrong with you? I'm troubled. That's what. Restream is suggesting a different keyframe value, but I don't see where to specify that. I'll look it up when I'm researching other stream-related stuff. All right, so we're down to 4 million points. I'm particularly concerned about how that affected the chainmail detailing. So let's go back. And fourth. And yeah, so it knew not to touch the chainmail. That was already degraded. Beyond probably what it should have been. Sometimes ZBrush is pretty smart. Alright, so I'm happy with this. We gotta save it. And in the 2 hours we've been streaming, we have made zero progress. We're back to where we started probably 3 or 4 streams ago. Have you met anybody who has screwed up stuff as often? I can't even talk. I can't even express how much I screw up because I screw up talking about screwing up. Starting to develop a complex. Excuse me. It's the weekend. I've done a bunch of work. I think I am going to switch over to streaming. Whether or not that's going to be Call of Duty Blom, or Jurassic Park Claire's Sanctuary has yet to be seen. Oh, I just got my controllers returned from the repair shop, so we can test those out. This is not a good sign. It says file exported time 0.725 seconds, but here it says it's writing data. And ZBrush says it's not responding. Why is it only using 50%, 54% of memory? I want it to use all the memories. Oh boy. You can't see it, but I've got the white screen of paralysis again. Hey, it worked. And that seems as good a place as any as for where we should stop. But you know what? I'm going to export all the... I say all the... We really only have one mask to worry about, right? And that's the core mask. Actually, we have different masks for different materials, though. Did I send that to desktop? Yeah. I am not seeing it. All right, yeah, so that's where we're going to stop. Might be back with some gaming. Might not be. All right.